basically Lotta, I was like, we're on a podcast, bro.
It's going to come around the front in a minute.
No. Josh, Will, thank you for having me. Super grateful. I've been watching what you guys have been doing from afar since lockdown, basically. I sort of thought this looks fucking sick. Like doing something interesting with pies. I've always thought pies could be premiumised. I thought it was a bit of a dead, crusty category.
Yeah.
You guys have done it. I was like, right, this is interesting. They're selling pies. They've got the Nettle Market stall. And now, well, as we're about to record this, you're about to go into these Premier League football clubs. You've got a Ocado listing. I really think you guys are going to be one of the next big challenger brands. I really do. Thanks for doing this. Appreciate it.
No problem. Thanks for having us on it.
Yeah.
on the poddy.
Yeah.
What I want to start with, mate, is I read somewhere that you'd kind of dropped out of uni and fucked off to New Zealand.
Yeah.
What is the? I think that's kind of the best place stories start, where people are like trying to escape something to go and find something.
Yeah.
What were you trying to like get away from and go to, and what took you to Australia?
I don't know if it was necessarily really trying to get away from stuff. I think like I wasn't great at school, and then I sort of like went away, did a bit of traveling, and then came back, and all my mates were going to university, and it felt like it was an option that was like pushed on me a bit, and I was 18 or whatever. That didn't work out, and so within 2 months I was sort of back at home, and actually my mum was like, she'll hate me for saying this, but it's like you can't stay here, It's like, you figure this out, you're not staying at home.
Where's home? Is that?
It's just outside of Watford.
Okay, sweet.
Outside of Watford, yeah.
Yeah.
And then so with that I was really like, okay, sweet, well I'm going to go as far away as possible then.
I'll show you.
Yeah. I'll fucking show you, mate.
And then it was like, since I could get a 2-year visa in New Zealand at the time, and sort of went for it really. And obviously no chefing background, like figured it out when I went over there that it was the right environment for me, basically.
And because I read somewhere that their pies, so I was with one of sponsor the other day, whose wife is Kiwi.
Yeah.
And she was saying that the pies, there's actually like a massive pie thing in Australia and New Zealand.
Yeah.
What is the, what would you say, it could be quite contrarian here, what pies are better, New Zealand or Australia?
I think New Zealand's,
because
they take it very seriously. It's like, they have loads of small bakeries in each town which like take massive pride in their pies. I don't know, it's just like they're obsessed.
Really?
There. Yeah. And I think Australia is as well, but it's very like sport driven, whereas not so much like each like bakeries and stuff like that. In New Zealand, like you can't get away from them, they're everywhere, like it's literally, they have it for breakfast, lunch, dinner.
It's mad as what, so their pies are kind of like our fish and chips?
Yeah, but they have that as well, so.
They've got fish and chips in New Zealand?
Yeah.
Fucking
hell.
No, that's mad.
They're obsessed, yeah.
And then Josh, your background was, I don't know what we were talking about outside when we have a ciggy, but hydroponics.
Yeah.
And what are the learnings you've taken from what is hydroponics first, I think, for listeners? And then what are the learnings you've taken from that to fucking
Josh,
pie building?
Yeah.
Here's your spotlight, mate.
Yeah, I'd say it's a bit of an art, bit of a science. It's the growing of things without a substrate in its purest essence. Predominantly in this country, it's used for growing nefarious plants. Just because they're exotic and you can't grow them here. I would like to say that I didn't do that. I was working for an actual company, registered with Companies House. So I did that for about 2.5 years. I was the purchasing manager, so it gave me a good oversight of like supply chain, good customer service skills. I previously worked in a pub, which also helped that. But actually what really lent itself to making pies was the family business that I started working for when I was about 14. Nothing like a bit of child labour.
Which was, what was that?
I was double glaze units. And,
right.
Whilst they seem completely separate, the production line element of it is massively transferable, about being efficient as you possibly can at every step of the way, analysing, if not over-analysing every step. And
Say that again.
Yeah. And it's strange. I never thought when I first started, when I first jumped on with Will, that would be applicable. But it very.
I always
quickly
find everyone I
was.
speak to, there's some weird background that sets them up for success.
Yeah.
Like 5 years down the line with
Yeah.
something fucking completely random. Like I used to deliver cheese around London. I don't know if you use. There's a wholesaler called Harvey and Brockless.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever heard of them. Delivering cheese around when I left uni, I was like, what the fuck am I doing?
Sick though. That
Yeah,
sounds
sick. Yeah, mate, it was so much fun. I was basically just, and actually, this was like 2016 when podcasts were just starting. So I didn't realise I was basically listening to 10, 11, 12 hours of podcasting because I was like in a van all fucking day.
Yeah.
And then meeting people like off the cuff, so having to build relationships quickly.
Yeah,
And then it's like 10 years down the line, I'm now doing a podcast. It's like, fucking hell.
You can see that.
And then, so with the double glazing, so what are kind of the principles? So you talked about like the kind of the manufacturing side. Like, what are the specific things that have, made you better making pies, basically?
The way the product moves around the factory from a raw ingredient to a finished product,
Right.
So you could see the raw sheet glass that we would get in its single glazed form is akin to getting vegetables or meat or anything else, and then marrying that glass up with the thing that separates it and makes it into a double glazed unit that can be seen as perhaps the pastry.
Yeah.
And so it's bringing all these raw ingredients into a final product and the way that they move around a factory.
But you're also, he's insanely good at like the production line sort of side of things.
Yeah.
Figuring out how to speed things up, I think that's it, isn't it? Like, find, there's real satisfaction as well. Like, I think both of us are quite good at that. But you sort of like, obviously it started off with just the two of us. So it was just like very much like, all hands on deck. And I think like, what we do now is we're looking at other people doing them for us, and we're like, oh right, that's holding us up. We need to figure out a way to speed that up.
Yeah.
How do you figure that out? Okay, well, we need to get this bit of machinery, or this needs to go, that table needs to go. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's just,
because you've now, we're right, talk about the football stadiums coming on board.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you've now got, is it Arsenal, Watford?
Watford, no.
Oh no, what that was the.
So Arsenal, Fulham, so all GA, and then general admission, and then Leeds is hospitality. And then obviously like the women's games as well. So we've got the Arsenal women's, which is massive.
That's mad. And then, so how does the production line from making it in your flat, right, during lockdown? Like, what I'm trying to get to is how, because I think a lot of people talk about the product.
Yeah.
And like the product has to be banging when I get onto that, your chef background.
Yeah.
But I think scaling and like learning how to almost do that jigsaw puzzle of like, this needs to work so we can hit that volume.
Yeah.
I think that's a really interesting like art and science. So how has it sort of changed? Like, what have been the main things that have changed in the production line? Because I think sometimes it can literally just be placing like, instead of the packer goes, you move two packers around and it's like, fuck me, like you get an extra 20 out an hour. Like, what does that look like for you?
Well, predominantly it is equipment. When I first jumped on in September 2020 with Will, we were using big stock pots that were perhaps 50 litre capacity. We've now got BRAT pans that you can, I don't know if the viewers will be able to, but you can see behind BRAT pans that have 100 litre capacity. We've got a deck oven that can cook roughly around 270 of our small pies in one go. Previously, we were working on something that could do 120.
Yeah.
And then the next level up is 250 litre capacity cooking kettles. The ovens are, you roll your racking trolley in, it spins it as it cooks it to get an even cook, and it rolls out the other side. And so there's a lot of thinking to be done, but a lot of it's a bit of a balance between the two of maximising efficiencies and also making the money so you can spend it on more equipment. Basically.
That doesn't happen overnight, It's like, I used to be colouring off like,
oh my God.
Like, I used to have like 2 inductions and be like colouring meat, so like browning off beef.
4.5 hours.
Yeah, 5 hours. Just like,
And then braising it for 6.
and then be like, I think it's gonna be a late one tonight. Actually, just got the meat ready to go in the oven. But like now, so it's just like, I mean, you need cash. That's a massive thing. I mean, like, because we would have made that decision a long time ago to have all this kit, but obviously you just got to gradually build, and we had the funds that we had, and we dealt with it, you know. And you find small things over the course of years that make big differences.
100%.
You know, like,
It's mad. Yeah, I think it's so interesting because it's like how, with that chocolate company I was talking about, like there are almost like too many fucking steps in the supply chain. You just take one little thing, but you have to like go through that arduous bit at the beginning. You know, oh my, then you're constantly looking back retrospectively, being like, what was I doing? Like, was I browning meat for 4 hours? You know what I mean?
Also, like, there's a real satisfaction in that because we've done it the right way, you know?
Yes.
Otherwise, you've cheated a little bit, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, I think, like, we've grafted. That's the most important thing, is that we have worked our fucking asses off, man, like, over the last 4 years. And, like, we used to pay each other 50 quid a week. We weren't taking
40 hours in 2 days.
We weren't taking universal credit. And we were doing what we could with the, you know, with the equipment and the facilities that we had. And we've worked to get here, you know. And so now we're in a position where it's like, sweet.
Yeah. 9 to 5, son.
Well, it's coming.
Yeah, it's coming.
Go too much.
That's jokes.
Hey guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Honestly, means the absolute world to me. I'd be so grateful for a small favour, please. It is so hard growing a YouTube channel. It is so bloody hard. If you please enjoy these videos, just click the subscribe button. More subscribers equals bigger guests equals better conversations, and hopefully you can learn more as you build your food and drink brand. Thank you so much.
And then with the and I want to get on to kind of like the kind of the vision when you're working that hard, like literally cycling around London during lockdown.
Yeah,
I like super respect that graft. But in terms of getting yourself ready for these football club, like the stadium or the stadium, whatever. What have been the things that you've really had to like change in the Jenga of supply chain to make it like, or is it just like graft?
Sorry, there's flies doing my head.
Yeah.
I think that's...
Moving away from what's quite stereotypical of food businesses, small food businesses, whereby you just order whatever you need and you pay whatever they say, to something that resembles more contractual work. So you say, well, we're gonna, you're writing forecasts rather than just being like, oh, I need 20 kilos of beef this week, and then next week I'll order 30, and you do it on a very sort of like last minute basis. You plan further ahead, and you say, oh, well, actually by November we should be up to X amount of beef per week, X amount of chicken, and then you go to your suppliers and say, look, what's the best price you can offer? We'll be using this for 4 months. So that really helps. We used to change it every week, the menu, which was absolutely mental.
Hilarious.
It was. I mean, don't get me wrong. It kept.
Is that like your chefy kind of like?
I think, I'll be honest, I think like it's weird because it's like we've seen the benefits of having a menu that stays on for longer, because I think people get used to it and they go like, oh, I enjoyed that. You're sort of like one-off customer who picks up the pie from a shop is going, oh, I really like that, I'll buy that again.
Yes.
Whereas before,
habit.
we were reliant on the Instagram sales and people going like, oh, what's up? Like, what are they doing now? And like, naturally the business is going like, okay, we're into this next stage where it's like consistency, like, you want to nail those one-off consumers and make sure that they're buying them week in, week out. Whereas we were reliant on like a base of basically from East London, really. And South East London. They were going like, we're really helping these guys out and we love what they're doing.
That's mad.
And the more we're now just into this next step, basically.
It's so interesting what you say there, mate, in terms of like, we talked about the evolution of the supply chain, getting all this kit in and stuff. But I think there's an evolution in terms of like how you go from like super niche to where we're at now, about to be not mainstream, but fucking getting there. And it's like the things that keep your core original consumers happy, which is the ever-changing menu, like go on the Insta, what's new,
Yeah.
isn't the thing that's going to get you from, that may get you from A to B, but from B to C to D.
No, yeah, exactly.
And I think it's really, because I think some people can get either so obsessed with the next shiny toy.
But then saying that, like, what's really important is that you keep that fundamental, sort of what Willy's Pies started off as, in terms of it being like, so we're not going to steer too far away from that, you know, but we're only going to change the menu 4 times a year. And so it's going to go with the season. So there's a chefy side to it and seasonal side to it, which no one else is offering at the minute.
Yeah.
And so, but we're also going to do it so that it works for us, obviously, but then it also works for that consumer who will get used to a product and want to buy it on a weekly basis, basically.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So I think it's really, there's a happy medium of that. And that's the same with quality of ingredients, you know, and like a consistency in that regards. I think we've always sort of made really nice quality stuff and used good quality ingredients, and keeping that consistency there and just not dipping in a couple of aspects and ways that we produce.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And sell.
You save time and money on the building of the pie, because that's where.
What do you mean by the building the pie? Like up front, you mean?
I mean, like the actual, you know, we've made them. Say we made a load of mix today, and then tomorrow we're going to turn that mix into pies.
Right.
Where you can really save your money is by making that as efficient as possible. But where all of the value is in the quality of the mix and the pastry. We've got an amazing pastry supplier that comes down from Dorset called Dorset Pastry.
Don't say that, man. They're going to Prime Minister will nick us. Jesus.
We'll be able to get preferential rates on the pod. So we get
That's a good point.
Yeah.
30 days in a month.
That's so funny.
So we have that great product. We don't have to save money there. But what you do is you have this machinery that aids in that, and you don't take away from the thing that sets our pies apart from everyone else, which is the quality of the flavour. I think when you get into the realms of reducing there, that's when you've lost. Yeah, you've.
And how do you? Because I had the oregano and pork one.
Yeah.
Unreal. So delicious. And then how that's another balancing act, is that scale versus getting access to the best ingredients.
Sorry, what do you mean by that?
So like as you get bigger, it can be so easy to like think, all right, well, we could get, I don't know, say I think you said you use Clarence Court eggs. Is that, I don't know if,
Hasty water.
Yeah, exactly. That's a prime example. It could get to a stage where you're like, right, we could go somewhere else that's still really good, but not as, you know, good.
Well, but I mean,
how do you just
can't.
You can't. Yeah, interesting.
I just don't think you can. I mean, if we could, but we're not going to be what we say we are.
Yeah.
And we're not going to be Willy's Pies, which has been all about that from the start. And it's like, again, like going back to the old chef's background stuff, it's like, it would kill me to do that.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, I've worked in good restaurants and that's something I really care about. You know, it's like, I mean, when I dropped out of uni, I was studying agriculture in Wales because I was so keen on like sort of free range meat and stuff like that, and
I was
quite passionate about.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like it'd be like, you know, and that was at 18. So. But
so I always find that interesting. Like, what pulled your curiosity to that? Like, what was so?
I don't really know. Yeah. To be honest, I think I never was interested in cooking. I never was bothered. I was like, you know, sausage, chips and beans, like for dinner, you know, spag bowl,
like, spaghetti hoops,
lasagna, a roast dinner on a Sunday. But I was quite fussy and stuff, and then but for some reason, I don't know, I've just always been interested in sort of animal welfare, and then weirdly, I think like it's kind of strange that then you become a chef and you just like. You work at good places, and obviously, like, it's just something that is connected, isn't it? In a way.
Yeah, I think it's certainly the restaurants that you have in London and the restaurants that you worked at, where provenance is put at the top of everything, and I think they're. I mean, obviously, owning a restaurant is not easy, and the profit margins are not good.
Yeah,
and a lot go to the wall, and it's only a very small minority that lasts. You know, any longer than sort of 5 to 10 years.
I listened to this really interesting podcast. My mate sent it to me by this like Irish economist, but he got this Michelin star chef on, and he talked all about the the margins of a Michelin star restaurant.
yeah.
Is basically like they literally make so much 6-7%.
Yeah.
But the way they make their money, like say like a Adam Handling or a Paul Ainsworth, is off the pub, the bistro.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
where they make the margin back.
Yeah.
Because like it's literally it's crazy.
Yeah, it's
the amount of them that are shutting down as well.
Yeah,
it's just
Try selling a product. Honestly,
Well,
it's
you know,
mental, man.
The way I kind of liken it is that they create a menu and they say, well, this costs us this much.
Yeah.
So we have to sell it for this much.
Yeah.
We have to work it backwards. This has to cost the end user this much.
Yes.
And we have to fit everything that we want to into that price and still make money.
Yeah.
And so
and that product has to sell at that price. So if you go too high, you're
But the benefit we have is that our top restaurant in London can't fit any more than its capacity allows. As long as we can keep expanding our capacity, we can keep servicing more and more and more and more people. And it's an economy of scale business whereby should we continue on the trajectory that we are, we should be able to offer the same quality of product for a low enough price that, I mean, let's be honest, it's never going to be Pucker, but what the fuck are you getting for £1.50?
Yeah, Pucker's so
What on
right.
earth is it there for £1.50? You're buying it for £1.50, which means the supermarket's been sold it for God knows how much and actually making a margin on it.
Yeah.
How they can make money on that, leads you to question it. But we truly believe that by increasing, our capacity, we can truly make a product that is nationwide and is accessible to, unfortunately, maybe not everyone, but as many people as we can possibly make it accessible for.
Yeah.
It's what I find, as what was talking about earlier, is so you're on these push bikes, just making them in your kitchen, I think, mate. Like
Yeah.
I wasn't.
Oh right, okay, you weren't.
missed that
Oh
bit.
right, you missed the graph bit.
Sticking pens, mate.
Yeah, taking pens and growing weed. No, I'm joking. But the
Smoking it.
yeah, smoking it. I'll see you in September, mate.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm a fair weather cyclist. Yeah, so because loads of business started in lockdown. Like everyone was doing fucking brownies, like making necklaces out of acorns, like such random shit.
Yeah.
But like, so what is your vision in your head as you're cycling round London delivering these pies? Is it like, what are the thoughts in your head? I'm trying to get to that, or is it
not a huge amount? More just like filling time was the main thing. I think.
Right.
I was on the phone to my dad walking down Leabridge Road. And he was like, what are you going to do? Because obviously, like, restaurants and stuff were the last ones to sort of, like, projected to go back into work and all that. And then I was just like, well, I might start making, this was like 2 weeks in, I was like, I might start making pies and just, the original idea was that I was going to start working in the local butchers and just, like, selling, like, make a few dishes and stuff. And then I was like, no, I'll buy the meat off you. And then I'll supply, or like you give me the meat and I'll supply you with pies, and then give me a bit extra and I'll go and fling it, sell it. And then obviously like the first run was like just to friends, whacked it on Instagram or whatever. And I was just like, oh yeah, does anyone want them? And everyone's going, oh yeah, we'll help a mate out. He's not getting paid at the minute. And then so I was like, started doing it, and I went with, got a shout out Tom. Got a shout out Tom.
Who's Tom?
Tom Ford was, he's our mate. God, stop.
Not the Tom Ford.
Yeah.
A Tom Ford.
Stop saying he's our mate.
Get you free sunglasses. Sponsored by.
Yeah, exactly. But he was, we were living together at the time, and then, so we were cycling, doing the deliveries together. And, so originally it was just going out to mates, and we'd sort of say wherever in London, all of London, by push bike. And obviously then it started catching. And it was weird when I remember again chatting to my dad on the phone in the garden. I was like, this does feel quite odd, because it's like it just started moving quite quickly. It was like the word spread, and probably people just wanted to help out to start with and just support.
I did.
But then it was like going,
I did. Yeah,
you were hungry, mate.
Well, then he wouldn't deliver to me. I had to go and collect my fucking self. I was that yeah. He's too close. He has to come and get it himself. And I didn't want to pay the delivery fee.
That's
But
jokes.
in terms of like, I don't know, in terms of like thinking, like, honestly, like it was just like, I think because it was slow and steady, and then it all of a sudden amped up. I had months where it was like we still, there was no talk about going back to work. It was just about filling that time and just really embracing it at that moment. And then when Thomas Parry rang me when I was at BRAT, he rang me up and he was like, "So you ready to go back?" And I was like, "I don't know if I am actually. Like, I think I'm going to just give this a go." And then we went back into another lockdown and he called me again and he was sort of seeing if I was up for it, and I was like, "Nah."
This is really interesting. I think it's to help a lot of people, because a lot of people who listen to this message me like, I'm in this crossroads whether so like which path do I pick? And obviously like you've got the secure job. Well, it's still a bit ambivalent, but mainly secure job. I'm shotting pies on a push bike. What was pulling you in that direction? What do you like?
Well, I think the first thing is, I think like probably this wouldn't be here if I was still like, if lockdown didn't happen, like, and COVID didn't happen, because really I think it's one of those things where it's like COVID allowed for me to just have that opportunity to sort of like think about myself and what I really wanted to do, and I think like it's a bit of a weird one, because it's like you sort of like, I don't know how to describe it. I can't remember what I was going to say.
I think I've got what drove it. I think
because okay. So at the beginning, it's like, because I get this. I had the same in this podcast, right? Set up in lockdown.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm fucking bored. Like, I was like, oh well, someone like you're like someone who's done a really interesting business. Like, you're not doing anything, so it's quite easy just to get them on Zoom. It started like that. But then about 2 years ago, I was like, right, I want to build this massive fucking thing.
Yeah.
What was the point when it kind of went to? At the beginning, it was like super chilled. You're just trying to fill time. Thomas calls you from BRAT, says, "Do you want to go back?" You say no.
Yeah.
Like, what is the kind of the change in you guys, which is like, right, we're going to build a Whopper. We're going to get the Watford. We're going to get the.
Oh God, I mean, personally, I think it was like there's a couple of things in there, but perhaps pride, a bit of embarrassment as well, like not wanting it to fail.
Yes.
Not wanting to have built this thing that was selling out on a
That's
Monday
true.
morning, 250 pies within like 10 minutes, knowing full well that wasn't going to continue. That as people were allowed out of the house and there was a huge spike in home delivered food, knowing that was going to go through the floor as soon as people were allowed out of the house. They weren't going to be in the house at all.
Yeah.
Knowing our business was then going to be like fucked, for want of a better word, and being like, we want to pivot this into something else. There's a bit of embarrassment, don't want to be embarrassed, so pride. And then I think also as well, not wanting to go and work for someone else.
Yeah,
there's a bit of that, and there's also like we built this thing that had legs. It clearly had legs.
Yeah.
And we wanted to see how far we could take it, and we are still sat here.
And I remember what I was going to say. So I think like when you're sort of like, if you're working a full-time job, and then it's like you've got this little idea on the side and stuff. Like, COVID was a bit of a blessing because I could fully commit to it. You know what I mean? It's like when you're sort of working full-time and people are starting up businesses and they're doing it on their weekends and stuff, it's like so hard. It's so hard as it is. Like when we had every hour under the sun for us to focus on it, it was so hard to even get it off the ground then. Well, not even off the ground, but you know what I mean? Just focus on it. And then, like, let alone when you're working full time, it's just probably ideas just go like, they drift away. But like,
you give up easy.
Yeah.
You've got less runway.
So we sort of got ourselves to that position where we were going like, bloody hell, like, I don't want to. Personally, I didn't want to go back into kitchens. I was over it, and I felt a bit knackered, and it was an opportunity out, and it was like, well, you've got this far, like, you've got to go for it.
Just keep cracking.
It was a no-brainer, I'll be honest.
And how did you get over the like when people are allowed out of the house, the demand, as you said, the demand's going to go through the floor.
Yeah.
How did you mitigate that?
We talked a bit about graft. This is where the look comes in. It was probably April 2021. Everyone was properly allowed out of the house again, and we had an email from someone that you met in Oz. Did you meet him in Oz?
Yeah. Worked together in Oz.
He works for this company that introduced small brands into event spaces. They do. If you go to Kew Gardens, they do the concession stands there. Small brands. It might be burritos, pies, chicken, whatever. saying that they had this opportunity at Watford. And so from August 2021, we pivoted from this brand that sold direct to consumer to a brand that sort of sold direct B2B, business to business, in a fashion. And because we were already making in like batch quantities, because of that the nature of the way that things were set up in lockdown, of the drop, it drops on a Monday and then we make 250 off and we sell them.
Sure.
That's quite similar and quite, it's almost like parallel to what a production / manufacturing business does. So we started doing that. And that didn't really work. And so
let's talk about, if we're right to talk about this, because I think I think you learn, I know it's the wanky entrepreneur thing saying you learn from your failures, but it's true. So what went sort of Pete Tong when you went to, so you get I don't know if you call it a listing, but you get like
we had a contract.
Do a bit of business or something like your contract, that's it.
The lawyer would say it was a contract.
Yeah.
We signed it.
Watford come to you, or you get this link in. What are they saying to you? What have you promised them? And then kind of how did it go a bit? Yeah, Pete Tong.
It was a very strangely arranged relationship. We would give them the pies.
Yeah.
They would invoice us for the amount of pies they sold. They were roughly wasting about 200, which we weren't allowed to invoice them for.
That's wild.
Yeah. So and at the time it cost us about £3 to produce the pie. So we were wasting £600 a week, say, every game. They would pay us. They would pay us for the amount they sold.
Yeah.
Then this company that got us involved would invoice us for their commission at 15% or whatever it was. I think we negotiated hard and got 12.5%.
Yeah.
So it was this really strange working relationship.
It was really messed up.
Yeah.
And it was real naivety from our end, but also just like, massive learning curve of being like, you just need to be a bit more shrewd and like, it's sort of a bit bitter, innit, with stuff like that. But
I think so.
Is that your personal? Do you support Watford?
Yeah, man.
Oh, so that's even that much even deeper, mate.
Just to get out ahead of any defamation lawsuits that might come off the back of this, it's not Watford we dealt with.
Yeah, it's true.
It's another company who I'm also not going to mention.
Yeah.
But it's not Watford. It's a catering contractor. A lot of football clubs deal with.
They go for like and stuff like that.
But
Yeah. So,
no comment.
North Star, get listed, say listed, and grow. Do you actually know your shopper? If you don't know your shopper, you're literally pissing and spunking money up the wall. Knowing your shopper is the secret weapon to unlock more grocery listings and more stores. But not knowing your shopper is literally like driving in the dark, hungover, without a sat-nav, in a thunderstorm, in February with 5 miles of petrol in the tank. But knowing your shopper is like having a sat-nav. A full tank of petrol is a glorious sunny day. You're listening to the Sugar Babes and you've got a fresh, hot, pumpkin spice latte by your side. North Star Illuminator is the shopper map to the promised land of growth and success. It does 3 wonderful things for your brand. 1, make your marketing budget sweat. When you've got lucid, crystal clarity on exactly where each precious penny is going, you know how to drive loyalty with existing customers or even bring new shoppers into your brand. Numero 2, what's actually driving performance? Do you actually know why your sales are going up and down? You need to know, like, are you bringing new shoppers into the category? Is that driving growth? Are loyal customers buying more of your brand? Are shoppers switching in and out of your brand versus other brands? I mean, Perfect Head's a glorious example. They are bringing new shoppers into sports and energy. They are so incremental versus, say, chocolate bars, where people just switch in and out of brands all the time. The more you know this, the more oomph you've got with your buyer when you go to do a marketing plan, a joint business plan with retailers. The buyers want to know how incremental you are to the category. That is your passport to success. North Star is your passport. And what you can do is you can literally see it by channel, by retailer, get so specific. If you're looking to go to the next level, honestly, get in touch with North Star and go to the promised land. Delighted to announce the extension of our partnership with the wonderful Billy and Paul from Mackenzie Jones, but even more exciting, they have just launched a brand new brand as part of Mackenzie Jones called MKJ Ignite. MKJ Ignite is a recruitment firm which specialises full shebang, focus entirely on challenge brand space. They work with some incredible brands, Lucky Saint, Good Rays, Purdy and Fig, hunter and gather, and real superfoods. They can support with your hiring needs across all levels, top to bottom, junior entry-level jobs, all the way through up to MD and CEO level. So if you're looking for a field sales stomper, a sales wizard, an ops guru, a supply chain sensei, you name it, MKJ Ignite can help you out. And look, if you're looking to wet your whistle, ignite your curiosity, then check out the poddy we recorded with them back in July, laden with wisdom, all about like do's and don'ts of hiring and like how to create the perfect job description. You will love it.
Yeah, you're right.
Like, saying that, like, obviously we got it wrong as well, like massively wrong, and like we weren't we weren't there, and we shouldn't have accepted the contract because we weren't able to fulfill the order, and like and I think there was like a massive naivety in that regard, and it was one of those ones you go like, God, we can't say no to this, but actually you definitely should.
Yes, man,
and it's, you know, like I was on Talk Sport, man, like, I was on Talk Sport. I was like, got a phone call at 8 a.m. on the first game of the season. Watford were in the Prem, and it was like playing Villa first game. It was like we were in the back of the Guardian. It was like too good, too bad. And it was like Watford's like obviously predicted to go down this season. But the good thing is they got Willy,
which they did.
And then we were like, Jesus Christ, the expectations through the roof. And then obviously you sort of like, first of all, we had the product it was fresh pastry. So what we expected was in each kiosk was them to cook the pies. And obviously the average age of the people in the kiosk were about 17 and a half, you know what I mean? And it was like, and then I was like tearing around the stadium, Vicarage Road, and I was like, Jesus, stick them back in the oven. And I was like, that's burnt. And then obviously, so there was like this really, it was just horrendous. And then we went, week in, week out, and we'd have this meeting with these like head honchos, and then just be like, I promise we'll get it right next week.
Yeah.
And then we just didn't get it right.
We didn't even.
So what? So there's the they just basically weren't cooking them.
They
Essentially,
were cooking them, but
it wasn't like but it was just not.
They were trying to fit like 200 in an oven with no gaps between the pies. There's no airflow, and then they're 17. You can't cook a piece of fucking toast.
Yeah.
Let alone like.
Hang on.
Yeah.
Well,
but also, I mean, like, we were using like, we had one of these was what we had, and that's a pie press, and we didn't even know how much filling was going to go into like the pie. So we accepted this contract, and we just started to figure out this machine, and then it was like, all right, sweet. So they were bursting everywhere, and then we were just like, okay, so it's actually got to be 120 grams.
we didn't have a premises at the time. We were sharing with someone. And so for the first, I think it was 2 or 3 games, we cooked the mix at the Watford Stadium, at Vicarage Road. And then the next day went back in. And
That's mad. That's mad.
I can't believe they let us do it. I honestly can't believe they let us do it.
But
I understand why, I can, as much as we can, vitriol and these are arseholes or whatever, but I can understand why they got rid of us. We weren't. It's not like they tried to put like Walkers and Mars bars and we were going no.
Yeah.
In our kiosk.
So what's the like? Let's say it's like the Apprentice moment where you guys go to a cafe and you have your cup of tea and you're like, right, we're fucked now.
Actually, I'll go now.
Yeah. You're fired, mate. See you later. I'll fire myself. Yeah.
I mean,
So what do you say to yourself? Because I think in every kind of story, there's these bits happen, and I think what's so interesting, and we'll get onto this, is like now that kind of cauldron of failures and learnings has now set you up for success. Well, with what you're doing now, right? With the new, but yeah, what's that moment? Because you said lockdown, demand goes off a cliff. You get this kind of safety net, if that's what it is. Yeah, safety net where you get Watford, and then it kind of goes down again. You're like, yes, you're having a cup of tea or a pint. Like, what you say to each other? It's your fault.
Well, no, but like, in all seriousness, we lost the contract, right? And then it was like, okay, we put all of our eggs in one basket, and me and Josh were outside the front of it. This arch was meant to be a shared space. We were meant to share it with another company,
Right.
And so we were paying X amount on rent, and we had no money coming in. We'd lost the main contract. And so we literally, we obviously were selling to stores. I don't think we
No, we
were.
weren't.
No, sorry.
Yeah.
So then we were like, right, we've got to change our whole business idea. Business model moves within like literally a couple of hours. And it was like, well, we've got to sell to stores. We've got to start selling locally.
Yeah.
And it was weird because we were standing outside by those bins having a fag and a coffee, just like, this is it. Maybe I am going back to BRAT. If they'll take me.
Yeah, this place. We signed a
So
contract.
it's like only fools and all sorts.
Yeah.
So next time, Rodney, don't you worry, man. It's going to be sweet.
Well, this time next year, Rodney, we're going to be millionaires.
Yeah.
Well, maybe not next year.
Maybe the year after next. But yeah, no, Will's right. We took this place on in July 2021. The electricity wasn't on. That's why we had to cook out of Watford's kitchens for a couple of months, and then we finally got in here, and we cooked our first batch of Watford pies in here. And I think we even cooked them. I think we pre-baked them so that it would be easy for them to cook the other end. We were finally going to be consistent, and that was like the last week of December. And then we never went back. They never had us back. And we had
them in the fridge.
We had about 1,500 units in the fridge.
Getting high in your own supply.
I was like, we've got to sell these somehow.
Yeah.
And they did go in the end eventually. But when we came back in January, we had a couple of weeks off, and we came back in January.
The homeless shelter.
Yeah. They ate well. And then we came back in January 2022, and we were like, right, we're selling to stores. Then that's it, and because we had to make it work, otherwise it was like lights out.
So it's literally a case of just getting. We were just on the computers for hours and just being like, right, local delis, small stores,
all around here.
Tapping them up.
Yeah.
Obviously, we had a bit of noise from lockdown and stuff, so we played off that.
Yeah.
And we were like, listen, will you buy the pies? And just
Please buy the pies.
please.
Buy the fucking pies, mate.
I'll give them you.
I don't know if I should say this, but like in all honesty, like we were screwed because we didn't pay rent on this place for a year. Do you know what I mean? We just tried to fly under the radar,
and we did.
And we were riding it out and trying to find our feet, and we were just like, wait until they come knocking, and then we'll deal with it. But it was like, we've had. I think that's something that I think is actually really important to press on, is that people think that we're flying and we're laughing the whole time and everything's easy. Like, I'll tell you what, like this has been the most stressful thing we've ever done in our lives, especially as time moves on and we're progressing with it and stuff. There's chairs a bit mad, but it's it hasn't been easy, and like I think it sometimes looks like it is, and I tell you what, it's definitely not.
Yeah. What's been how do you guys what's been the biggest barmy you guys have had on the whole journey, and how do you, because I think
What week?
yeah, but it's in. So the guys I was just with, the beer brand I was just with, they were having a barmy just now because my mate wants to activate. Is it the Volley, the football pub? That's just launched. Yeah. So he's got this idea. It's a beer brand where he wants to do. If you spray your hair the colour of the brand, then they'll buy your beers all night. So basically, just go there, and my other mate's like, mate, do you know how fucking stupid that is? Like, we're just going to be basically paying if 100 people spray their hair, we're just paying for the night out. But there was a massive bar, mate. Yeah. But it's a daily tension.
Yeah.
And as we were leaving, they were just like, it's a good tension. Like, how do you, kind of work through that? Do you know what I mean?
Stop doing it in front of staff, first and foremost. That was very. That was a long time ago. We stopped doing that. Yeah.
Really? Yeah. Did you just have a massive barmy, basically?
When I was in the kitchen, I'm not anymore, but when I was in the kitchen, I might be here pressing a pie base, and Will might be over there putting pies in the oven, and we're talking across the staff about the running of the business. Because when else are you supposed to? When you're in here for 12 hours, 9 to 12 hours a day, when else are you supposed to? And then, I've got this idea, or Will's got this idea, or a vision of how it should and shouldn't be. Yeah. You're shouting across the staff, and you're just like, we're not nip that in the bud. It's like you end up having to ask them to leave. Just go down, or we have to go down.
Then your production lines
slow it.
We're so much better. And I think the main thing that's allowed that to happen is actually like sort of having a complete understanding of what that other person does, and like when you sort of get that, then you can go like, all right, you know, because I think when I've been in here and I was like for ages I was just cooking and that was it, and then I was like, what, like, not to say that I was like, oh, what's Josh doing? But you know,
He's around there on the Daily Mail. Yeah. TV and showbiz section. Having a little mooch.
You literally don't have an understanding of it, and then like, you know, you sort of, I've come out of the kitchen and then just having someone show you exactly what they're doing, and then you just go like, fucking hell. Then, and also like, it's just respecting each other massively. Like you get to, I mean, over the 4 years, I know what pisses him off, and I know, and he knows what pisses me off.
What pisses him off?
Figured it out yet.
What winds him up?
Change.
No, let's keep it the same.
Well, actually, prime example of Josh is this morning. I came in, so I was in for 7:30, and I started like moving the stuff around, and I was like, right, get everything sorted, and I pushed the machine to the back, and then you were like, no, I think it's this guy at the front. I was like, just let him do it. But he was right.
Yeah.
And sometimes you just don't need to fucking react.
Yeah.
Like, we used to always like react, you know, and it's so reactive, and then you just go, let him.
Both very
moving machinery.
Very stubborn. Both very stubborn.
Yeah.
Really stubborn. Both really believe in what you know, in what we think is right.
Yeah.
It can be as minute as like, well, stick the machine out the front, or it can be as big as like, you know, let's do X, Y, or Z to that. You know, let's get a secondary space. Let's, you know, buy a second BRAT pan. Let's spend, you know, best part of £12,500 on a deck oven. You know, can be from the minutest things to the biggest things, but there's a big picky battles as well. Like there's no need to, like, there's similar things, you know, like where I'm like, oh, I don't actually agree, but it's actually not worth, like, it isn't going to affect anything that badly.
Yeah.
That it's worth having the conversation about wasting our breath.
100%.
And like Will says, like, it is about respect. It's about like doing it properly, not raising your voice, not shouting, not using pejorative terms and swearing at each other like we used to, and just being like, you know, no, sorry, I don't agree with this.
Yeah.
You know, rather than be like, stop being a fucking prick. You know, like, oh, that's really constructive, that was. Cheers, Josh.
Yeah, it's so interesting. This is what I'm trying to get is the way I just love it when, and I think what I'm picking up from you is this kind of blind faith and stubbornness are two amazing traits to get anything done. But then, like, I want to try and get more into the kind of the granularity of like how you're kind of different. This is a fucking random question. But like, say you were a pie. Right?
Oh, yeah.
Say you're literally a pie.
I've thought about this.
Have you actually thought about this? Well, because obviously you've got the righty pie, so he's developed his pie, right?
Yeah.
If you were like the Josh pie and the Will pie, like what would be in your ingredients? Do you know what I mean?
Ooh. Well, a little bit of courage.
No, so sorry.
50 grams of courage.
Yeah. I asked.
So you'd say a sprinkling of courage, and I'd say 50 grams of courage. I think that's the main.
Yeah. So what did you say? A sprinkling of courage and.
I'd say 50 grams, and he'd say a sprinkling.
Oh, that's so interesting. Yeah.
How does it feel? And what was mine? What was someone said it previously? I'm about the numbers, and you're about how does it feel? How does it feel? I think that's a good way. But oh god, in terms of a pie, I quite like. I don't know. You know, pork's pretty good. Is that the question
Pork's
you're asking?
banging. I don't really know what I'm asking. I'm just like.
Yeah.
I think that's yeah. Is he a pie?
The route that Will went down, I think, was quite a good one.
Yeah, but that's what I was trying to get to. Is
philosophical.
Is the sprinkling versus 50 grams, whatever you said. I think that's really interesting to get.
I think that's probably the main difference between us. Is
Yeah.
that, like, Will has that creative spark. I don't want to say that I don't have a creative spark. I think I fix problems and I fix issues, which in many ways is creative. But I am quite like.
I think like what he's insane at is just getting like things over the line, and he does it very professionally.
Yeah.
Like he's covering so many things, and he literally just has an understanding of it all, and he does it to such a professional and good standard. Hence why we're in Arsenal. You know what I mean? Like we wouldn't be there if we didn't have this level of professional overview from his side of things, and then from my side. It's like I'm going to produce the best quality product that I can, and it's going to be as delicious as it possibly can be. You know, like that's where I just create it. I can create.
Yes.
But like I was like I went in and it's like Josh, other Josh, who's like our head baker. But you know, like we've got these new guys that are getting trained up and stuff, and obviously it's just like it takes time and shit. But the hours and the level that we've gone into to create these mixes this week is like massive, you know, and like there's care and like we taste it over and over again just to make sure it's right, and especially with these ones going into Arsenal, you know, we're just being like so over the top with it. But then I just said, you know, we stick of the pies at the minute. I just got Josh in the fridge and I was like, listen, like you haven't stickered these pies properly, because I was like, if I was there, if I was in the shop and I saw that and it was stickered wonky or it was coming off, I wouldn't pick it up because I think someone else has tampered with it, and like, you know what I mean, it just doesn't look great. And we've had an issue with our boxes, so all the boxes are the same colour, so there's a few aspects where it looks a bit cheap, but it's like, I think you've just constantly got to think about what I do is I constantly think about that consumer. How does it look?
Yeah.
How does it taste? Making sure it's exactly what I want that person to be eating, basically.
There's a book I read by Danny Mayer, who did that Union Square in New York, that unreal restaurant.
Yeah.
I think it became best restaurant in the world.
Yeah.
And he's got a really interesting book called Unreasonable Hospitality, and he basically says your job as a leader is to constantly move the salt. And basically what it means is every new waiter going to the table, every single day, you're going to have to just say, that's where the salt needs to be. That's what the leadership is like, that's where the salt needs to be. Same thing with the stickers. It's like, is it all, I really believe like how you do one thing is how you do everything,
well,
right?
exactly.
Like literally, like how you put a sticker on,
100%.
fucking demonstrates how the business runs.
Yeah,
it really does.
I said to Josh, I was just like, I like it looks lazy, and we're not lazy. We're not lazy in here. We're working so hard and we care so much about what's in that box. But if someone's getting there and they're picking up a shelf and it looks wonky and it looks like it's not stuck properly, and the colour of the box is different to what they got last week, then what are they actually thinking? They're going like, oh, that company's probably not really cared about that this week, so why should I buy it?
Yes. Yeah.
So it's
the price will be around. Definitely.
But I mean, obviously, these are really small things.
Yeah, but that's the whole point.
But it's so important, especially as we get into this next stage of just like consistency throughout, from our side, like my side, and Josh's side. You know,
With this new deal going into Arsenal, so we talked about the kind of the calamity at Watford first go round.
Yeah.
So you've learnt a lot. You've had your tea, your ciggy, and you've like had your apprentice moment. And then you're like, right, we're going into this. We're now literally in the big leagues. How have you approached it differently in terms of like the specifics? Like, what does the deal look like, if you can say that? Like, how have you gone into it production-wise? Like, how are you not going to be kind of being fast and loose with it, if that makes sense?
Yeah, no, definitely. It's a much more traditional working relationship. We produce the pies, we sell them the pies, and that's essentially, that could be where it ends.
Yeah.
You know, you could not know that it was Willy's Pies at Arsenal if it wasn't for the work that Will's doing with them on the
So is it branded or is
It's
it?
all branded.
Oh, amazing.
So we'll be
Yeah, that's amazing.
Kiosks,
I think it's 40.
uniforms.
All Willies.
Yeah.
That's
I think it's
sick.
14
Yeah.
kiosks will be in.
Yeah.
Any of those kiosks that have us will have Willy's Pies on the menu, and then one of the 14 will be the Willy's Pies kiosk. So it will be purely branded as Willy's Pies, and you will pretty much only be able to get, from a food perspective, will only be able to get Willy's Pies. Fulham, there's a little bit of work to be done on that, kind of how the brand is going to be presented and whether that's going to be possible.
Yeah.
But again, it's a very traditional arrangement whereby
So that's so hard to wangle that. Like,
When we
'cause-
say that, it's going on a pallet, goes to them, you deal with it.
Yeah.
Part
Yeah.
baked, done.
Yeah, but no, but I mean the branding on the menu thing.
Yeah.
Because that chocolate company I was talking about, they've just gone into prep,
Okay, yeah.
and they're not. It's all white label, so it's kind of like
Well,
yeah.
eventually we will have to do things like that. And
Yeah.
you know, as a manufacturing business, you can't turn down work because you can't put your name on it.
Yeah.
We can make money from our name and from our brand, and can probably demand a higher price.
Yeah.
If people don't want it,
No,
fair.
but like Marks and Spencer's, so few. If you go into Marks and Spencer, how many brands do you see on the shelf? It's barely any, barely any at all. And so, you know, eventually Marks and Spencer's, they're our perfect market. They sell high end goods at an increased rate an increased price, but they're not going to sell Willy's pies, or they may. But it's
I actually reckon they would.
They might, but if they don't, what, you're going to say no to them because you can't put Willy's pies in it? Well,
yeah, that's a really interesting
if we need to
point.
make revenue, and they've got thousands of stores, you'd be stupid to say no. As long as people are eating it and getting a good product, that comes back to the consumer. Like, if our brand is being represented enough elsewhere, why not sell it to someone and they're getting a good product and they're getting good provenance, the ingredients of good provenance? Surely it's a no-brainer. We're getting paid, they're getting a good product, and our product is still then being served, to a wider audience.
Oh my God, I am so excited. It feels like Hungary is finally swimming in the big leagues. I can't believe this. It's absolutely mental. But delighted to announce that Big Fish, yes, Big Fish, are partnering with the podcast. Perry's been on the podcast 3 times. Listeners absolutely love it. Some of our most downloaded and cherished episodes of all time. But Big Fish are behind literally so many brands in your cupboard, in your weekly shop. Charlie Bigham, Year Valley, Tyrrell's, Clipper Tea, Goo, Rana. I mean, mate, the list is longer than the River Nile. But they also share risk and invest in brands that they really believe are a force for good. They're brands that they believe are going to be the next big thing, like Howder, the snack that gives back. But even more exciting news. Big Fish want to speak to the next wave of small challenger food and drink brands that are destined for big things. The raconteurs, the movers, shakers, buccaneering visionaries. So look, if you want to speak to Big Fish and just have a chat, get your brand in front of them, then drop me a message. My mate Louis from Local Beer, Amazing Beer, was in their office, aka La Fish Bowl, last week chatting to Perry and the Big Fish crew. So drop me a message if you would like to speak to them. Bohemi, our beloved sponsor, are helping build the fastest growing challenger food and drink brands. Look, if you're a small brand just starting out and need your first indie stockist, your first 100 stockists to wholesale, Bohemi are the platform to categorically speed that up. But if you're a big brand wanting to get bigger, Bohemi are also insane. They make field sales marble smooth, silky slick. They're just epic. Ollie's been on this podcast twice actually. They saw a 29% uplift in sales when using Bohemi to check major malt listings availability. Insane. 29% uplift by downloading an app. Insane. Lucky Saint, my boy Aaron Duff, who's coming on this podcast in a couple of weeks, he uses it to manage a team of 30 people, and Lucky Saint have unlocked 500 draft listings by using Bohemi. Look, you've got to get involved with this stuff. It's absolutely insane, and it will categorically change your life. It's just the sickest platform. I use it all the time at Islands.
Yeah, it's mad. But the getting it branded on the menu, like, how did you sort that out?
I like doing that stuff. So it's like, I think.
What did you say to them, or was it?
Like, I mean, well, just you hustle, don't you? Like you just say, you push, and like, I mean, the initial conversation is sort of like, get you in there once you find your feet, and you go like, we were back and forth a few times, had a few tastings. We went down to the Emirates. They went down really well, and then once you're in and they like what we had to offer. Obviously, the connection with Wright is huge.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Massive.
Then it's sort of everything semi falls into place. But I felt quite strongly about. I mean, Arsenal's gonna be huge for us as a brand, and I think that's when sort of like maybe Fulham will go like, all right, maybe we want to do that actually.
Yes.
But,
yeah.
Because obviously, Arsenal working with different brands, they're generally like very, very cool club, they've got great links and just sick.
They've got Camden Town Brewery as well, don't they?
They do,
yeah. Because Beavertown went to Spurs and then
they championed them when they were really small. I mean, obviously they're owned by, I think it's AB InBev now, aren't they?
Yeah.
Huge conglomerate. But they backed them when they were really small, and
But
for them, it's something for them to talk about as well.
Yeah,
100%.
I think like if they didn't want it, there's not much. You can sing to the cows come home. Is that the same?
Yeah, something like that.
Something comes out. But I also so there's stuff that they say they're going to do anyway, and so like every time we've just gone like, oh, can we have a bit of input, and just like
we push it a bit more.
It was uniforms, like they were just like, oh, we're going to go with this.
What do the uniforms look like?
Can we get Willy's pies on there? And then they loved it. I mean, we got the design done, and then they liked the idea of it done. And then writing the menus, you could just let them do it. But we were like, no, we need to write it our way.
Yeah.
And it needs to be written with the quality of ingredients so people understand can relate to the pricing. Not that it's going up massively, but, you can relate to it.
It's something to talk about. It's free range chicken. It's rather than it just being
handmade in Hackney.
Yeah, chicken, rosemary and leek, or chicken sage and onion, as it will be at football. Sorry, Uncle Wrighty's. The Uncle Wrighty's obviously talks for itself a little bit, and there'll be a lot of talk around that. But the beef mince and Westcombe cheddar, it's Neil's Yard dairy cheddar, it's H.G. Walter beef mince, and it's just things that people see that they're getting more for their money.
Yeah, it's mad.
And it's £9.40 for a pint before the game.
That's unreal.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So for an hour before the game, it'll be, or an hour after gates open, it'll be £9.40 for a pint. So make sure you get down early.
Yeah. And then how many are you expecting to do a week, like per game, or if they just, can you say that, or
2.5? No, 2,000 for Arsenal.
That's mad.
That's what they were selling last year, so that's what we're starting on, and hopefully that grows.
But we think that's going to go up. I mean, again, especially with like Wrighty, he'll be able to do a good push on that, and I think that connection with the club and stuff, and also just like I feel like Arsenal fans are quite decent. It's just sort of I don't know. We've got quite a few Arsenal fans in our consumer base.
In the community, the online community that we've built, and Will's personality has managed to build over the last 4 years.
Thank you, Josh.
That's all right, man.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I do find the Instagram so funny, mate. Sometimes some of the stuff you put up it makes me laugh, mate. I'm
an idiot.
So what's Ian Wright taught you then? Because I know he basically found you guys, but what's he taught you about? Whether it's business or just kind of, like life. What's because he's such a prolific. I mean, especially now with everything he's doing on, he's like a media fucking machine now. Always has been, but with the podcasts and stuff like that. What's he taught you guys individually?
I don't know if it's about teaching. I think it's like what's really amazing about him is like, first of all, is he's put faith in us, and we've sort of got further down the line with the business and stuff, and he still has that faith, and we've got a real connection with him, and he's actually just, obviously everyone says that he's a legend and stuff, judging off what he's like on TV, but he generally is, and he's so kind-hearted, and he actually just really cares. Like, he just really cares about us as individuals, but also the business. And he's allowed us and got us into situations like we are now, and we're really lucky to have someone like him on board, or to have him on board, because we wouldn't be where we are now without him.
No, I mean, it kickstarts a conversation with Arsenal. When people either hear about it when you tell them, or they have previously heard about it, they want to know more instantly. So yeah, I think Will's right. It's not necessarily about teaching, but the help that it's given, the leg up that it gives you. It's massive and somewhat incalculable a little bit. It'll probably run its course like a lot of things do, in terms of like how interesting that news is over the course of 10 to 15 years. But it's hard to quantify, but it could well be the difference between us carrying on as an ongoing concern to perhaps not have been an ongoing concern.
Yeah, it's one thing I pick up from you guys is that you've got this ability to kind of create a massive surface area for through graft luck. Whether it's with the Watford thing or Wrighty getting involved.
Yeah.
Like, how did he just reach out to you and was like, that pie was fucking unreal? Or like, what was the...
I haven't told this story before, but...
Here we go again.
We usually take this one in turns.
Yeah. I did the last one.
So Lotta Wubinmoy, who plays for Arsenal Women's, and her and her partner Taya Gagan are like we're big fans of the pies, and they've been amazing to us and supported us again from the start. And basically, Lotta, I was like, we're on a podcast, bro.
He's going to come round the front in a minute.
No worries. he can get involved, mate.
Yeah, where was I?
The amount of times I've had a post to you come in during a podcast, he's like, what the fuck are you doing, mate? Well, I never go up north to do them, but anyway. Lotta was. So
so basically, I was like, we were trying to figure out ways that we could sort of just like, we were at the initial part, it was always about, you know, gifting pies, which is really lame and annoying, but you have to do it, I think, to make a bit of noise and keep the Instagram going.
Hashtag gifted.
Exactly. Yeah. Shout out Super and Taste Cadets as well, always. 'Cause they were, like, honestly, like, I actually did want to say something about them, because they really, you know, that initial part was, I was giving them some every week, and I was literally messaging them, being like, "Sorry, is it alright if you post the menu up?" Like, and it was like every Sunday, Super would whack it on a Taste Cadets and it's personal, and then it just was really allowed the business to sort of grow.
Yeah, because I did a podcast with
Vincenzo.
yeah, Tom from Vincenzo's, yeah.
And he said the same. I saw
Exactly the same thing. He was like, they just really kind of blew wind into just by
100%.
sharing, like being so safe about just sharing it like consistently though.
Honestly, yeah, I think it's they've done that for a lot of businesses as well. I think that's what people don't really understand or don't know, is that, you know, they've done that for a hell of a lot of people.
They almost help that really early stage
100%.
just to get, because they're like the kind of the avant-garde early adopter. They're always looking for the next new thing.
Yeah.
So it just gets that like pausing, gassing on those early bits of fire.
Yeah, exactly, definitely.
Because Tom said the same thing. It's like Vincenzo's would not be where it is without them.
But
I think he was sending
CP used to like whack up videos and do like stupid shit and just like reposting the menus and doing everything. And even like recently we were doing obviously a raise, and we're raising some money, and then I was like, "Oh, is it alright if you whack at this on your stories?" And I was like, "Actually, I don't think that's a very good look." And then he was just like, "You sure? Because I'll do it." You know, and it's just like, he doesn't have to do that.
Yeah.
It's just, but that sort of thing, as I say, just is massive when you're first starting out. If you've got that sort of someone who has a platform where they can really engage and get people involved, then it's massive. But Lotta was, so basically I like noticed that like Ian was like liking all of her photos and stuff like that, and then tapped her up and was basically like, "Oh, is it alright if we can get Ian Wright a pie?" And then she was like, "Yeah, weirdly we've got the same manager actually, so I'll hit him up." And then there was like a sort of email engaged that night, and the next thing you know, they'd sort of tapped us up, and you had a conversation with Roscoe, and
happened to drop in that we were
looking.
Just happened, you know. We're actually raising investment. No, it wasn't that calculated. I just mentioned it, and Roscoe was like, "Oh, are you?" And then the next week he was down trying the pies with Ian, and then
Ian rocked up. But he like loved it. And then we were in Soho House having birch and muesli and talking things over.
That as well.
Discussing money. But it was really...
but so how did you? Because obviously, like, how do you? So I think a lot of people get that, not necessarily with Ian Wright, but you get to, again, my mates were having this earlier, where they've been dealing with someone who's older, has done lots of multiple businesses. It's not their first rodeo. I'm not saying it's kind of your first rodeo in terms of your own business.
No, it is, yeah.
Like, how do you like make sure that you get a good deal and not create a situation with like what was it?
Like Watford. Yeah.
See, someone like Wright is a bit of a different kettle of fish, because you go like, well, I know what he's going to bring to the business.
Yeah.
But also didn't push. It wasn't. It wasn't.
It's very natural, right?
Yeah, but also, you know, it wasn't like, you know, or you know, he wasn't like, well, if I'm investing in you, I want this. It was like, can we get to this? And I was like, we were like, yeah, I think we can. But
It's
it was
one of
it was
those
nothing
ones that
it was
go
nothing
like-
obscene, you know. It wasn't like.
It was like, I need this to get excited, and it needs for me to get involved.
Yeah,
and be
true,
part
yeah.
of it. And that's totally fair. Like, you know, like for investors to go, this is what it would take for me to get excited for it. Then you go like, all right, well, sweet, I can get excited about you coming on board because you're going to give this, and it's like, well, we can get to that. You know what I mean? And then there's people that will come along and say exactly the same thing, and I'm not that bothered. Like,
Yeah, it's so interesting. And then
Sorry.
every investor is valuable.
no, I'm joking, actually.
and then with this fundraise now, what
Sorry,
have
I'm actually joking.
with this fundraise now, like, what's the game plan of like building this into a kind of massive pie machine, if that's the right way of saying it.
Yeah. So this will go towards predominantly operational expenses. So it'll pay salaries. Our wage bill is going to like double.
Yeah.
You know, by the end of August, we would have doubled our wage bill. It will go towards, you know, payment on machinery that we've had to get taken out on, you know, hire purchase agreements. It will offer us runway till around May, June next year. Hopefully we can extend that a bit further by making some changes in terms of like credit agreements with suppliers and stuff, credit terms. And that will see us through to our next raise, which will hopefully be the last, which will allow, that next raise will allow us to move premises and allow us to really amp up capacity and be able to service anyone that comes knocking basically for the next sort of 5 to 10 years.
Amazing.
Is the idea. So yeah, this initial raise is just extend runway and just ensure that we're still an ongoing concern come you know, the next financial year basically.
And then one thing I wanted to ask you about, because I think I in my like having a look when I was researching, you talked about those pie presser things in the corner, like they're these northern pie pressers. Bolton, yeah. What do you think? Which pies do you reckon are better? Like who does pies better up north or down south? And what's the difference?
Well, it's definitely not Southerners, man. Like, I mean, I'm a Southerner, you know what I mean, so I can say that. But like, I mean, I think that
why though?
Because they care about it. You know, I think we don't care about it enough down here, and I think it's like, I mean, like, obviously we're in a bit of a bubble with the East End and stuff like that, and obviously there's a massive history of pies where we're at, but sadly that's really dying off, and it's a real shame that that's the case. I mean, we aren't and never have tried to compete in that market, you know, so I think it's really important that we're not that.
What, so when you say that the up north market?
No, sorry, talking about here, East London, and like, you know, pie and mash and liquor. We've never tried to be that. We've always wanted to go onto shelves. We're not brick and mortar. But I think, so, I mean, but pies up north, I think it just goes hand in hand, and there's something really nice about it. And then I think, like, down here, other than the bubble that we're in terms of East London, I don't think there's anyone else that does it well. I don't think there is anywhere. I mean, like, you sort of go to sort of sections of the south that obviously have I think like the Cornish and the pasties and stuff like that. There's parts which do certain aspects of pastry and, you know, pie-esque making well, but really it's been quite neglected for ages, and that's why we saw that gap in the market for it.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of small suppliers, a lot that perhaps don't have machinations on being a next challenger brand that is in Sainsbury's. I mean, there was the guy from Turner's Pies that was on The Apprentice. He's managed to grow his pie business down on the south coast. I think it's the south coast, or in like Kent and around there. He must be doing something right. They must be doing something right. The pies must be, you know, pretty decent, but they don't seem to want to build what we want to build, which is a nationwide pie brand that anyone can access up and down the country. So I think Will's right. I think it's been left in the hands of, you know, the big boys for a long time, and no one's really tried to challenge it.
Because like a lot of the people I speak to, there's always like a category that's been kind of waning or declining. And then a brand comes in. I don't know if you had a bold bean, the beans. So Amelia's like a really good mate of mine. I've known her for, known her for years. I saw that on Dragon's Den actually. Yeah, she's amazing. But like, I remember speaking to her about 4 years ago. She's like, I got this idea for this bean business, and she was like maniacally obsessed with it. I was like, fuck me, like it's beans, mate. Yeah, it's fucking beans. Like, who goes down the beans aisle?
I love them.
Yeah, but they're
so good.
Then I tried them, and obviously now she's fucking smashing it.
Yeah,
literally like smashing it. And I think if you look for these categories, it's often not intentionally. You're like kind of following your passion. Like, oh shit! Like when I saw you guys, I was like, oh my god, that just makes sense. The pie thing, and then obviously linking it with the football. But yeah, is it like a dying thing? I remember. Do you know is it Callum Franklin who does the pies as well? Interviewed him. He was saying pie shops like back, not like the East End pie shops, but in like the some old times, like ages ago, like old times, was like a chicken shop.
Yeah.
So like the chicken shop, you'd have a pie shop, but like, and then it's now just all just kind of just.
I mean, he's associated with that that Dickinson Morris. So they based out of Melton Mowbray. They did the like famous pork pies, and they still have like their store that is like a 300 or 400 year old cottage or something, essentially, that turned into a pie shop 300 or 400 years ago, and they still operate out of there as a shop. And you know, who were we reading about the other day? Someone hit us up because they want to sell their pie business, but and that's got some legs on it. There's Wright's pies, which are now huge. I mean,
Wright's pies,
they're huge. You know, they're massive. Yeah. But that started with some guy with a hand push trolley in like the 1935.
Yeah.
So like, back in the day, before proper fast food, pies were like it
was the thing. Yeah.
Some geezer on a trolley.
I think it's also like, I mean, it goes back to the Australia and New Zealand thing, because I think that's when I was over there, I was like, God, this is so sick. This is at the forefront of like everyone's like every bakery, and it was really nice to just pick something up, and they had all these different varieties of flavors and stuff, and just like, you know, just walk down the street munching it straight away. And like, I feel like where we've probably gone a little bit wrong over time is always feeling it like it needs accompaniments with it, unless you're in like a specific location, which is stadiums. Yeah, we're happy to somehow, for some reason, we're happy. Actually, you've only just heard me saying.
I know, I think this is the first time.
But it's like, you know, for some reason, it's all right for us to stand and eat a pie like that at a football ground, but if you're going to like a shop or something, it's weird to have it without mash, gravy, peas. You know what I mean? And I think actually there's something. The other thing that's gone a bit, I think what we don't do very well is offering variety, because we're very like steak and ale, chicken and mushroom, and then I don't know, whatever, steak and blue cheese or something like that. Yeah. But it's like, actually, you just like showing a bit of fucking variety just goes a very, very long way.
That's one thing I was thinking. Yeah. Do you think mash and gravy and peas adds to the pie experience, or takes?
Depends what the pie is.
Yeah.
100%, but definitely not on others.
That's like, but so what I mean is, it's such a blanket thing to every fucking pie, and it's like, well, actually, like, say it's a chicken pie. Yeah. But I don't want to like douse the fucker in gravy. It just takes away from the creaminess. It just
if it's a puff pastry and you douse that in gravy, you lose all that flaky,
it's gone.
Crispiness.
Yeah.
But I used to do my head in over there at Nettle Market, because I'd be like, no, some of the pies should have gravy and mash in it.
Which one should have?
I was happy with the meat pies. So if it was like a steak and then a chicken pie with mash and gravy, it made sense and it tasted great and stuff like that. But the vegetarian ones I always really struggled with, because we change them and then they go like seasonal, and they go like, you know, maybe it's using like spring greens and cheese and stuff like that, but then have a mushroom gravy over the top, and it didn't quite make sense to me. Like, or it was like heavy tomato puree in the gravy, and so it was like very like autumnal, but then it had this like autumnal gravy with like a fresh, cheesy, like almost spanakopita, like sort of style. It was like, nah, you don't want to chuck all that sludge over the top of it, because it doesn't need it. It doesn't need fucking mash. Just eat it like that.
What do you think?
Would put ketchup on them. So
yeah, but this is what I'm saying. But I like it. So I like. It sounds. I don't care how fucking, you know, blasphemous this is, but I fucking like sriracha, or sometimes on the side. Get out. But that's what I'm saying. But like, what honest words, God, sriracha and fucking what's the other one? Brown sauce. It's weird as fuck. Yeah. Are you looking to turbocharge your brand, take it to another level, save money, save energy, save stress, save time? Well, I've got the perfect thing for you. I am delighted to announce that HC Brands, formerly HC Consulting, my boy Harry Clark, has just launched a commercial growth accelerator program designed specifically for challenger food and drink brands. You can upskill your commercial team. They've got so many modules. You can handpick them, where you can do the full shebang. You're going to save hours of research. You're going to get the tools to turbocharge your growth, get better clarity on your brand's objectives and directions. And look, Harry's worked with some amazing brands: Holy Moly, Islands, Savile, and Rooted Drinks. He's really helped me with a strategy for Hungary. Yeah, if you're looking to turbocharge your brand, link in the show notes, and you're going to be able to do that easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Yeah.
Works very well.
But what do you think are some of the things that? So what Amelia's done with bold bean is basically say like, yeah, you can do beans into, you can do a like pasta dish. She's basically reinvented beans.
Yeah.
Say you guys are going to reinvent pies over the years. So like part of it is like doing the basics well, the three.
Yeah.
Like, what do you think are some of the weirdest combinations? I'm trying to get into your creative process here, mate, in terms of like, right, so you could have X pie, whatever the weirdest pie you've created is.
Yeah.
And then what are some other sides that people aren't necessarily thinking about other than just sludging it in gravy and mash?
I mean, that's the beauty of what we do now. Is like that's up to you. If you want to do that in your own home,
I'll do some naughty things at home, mate.
But it's like, but I don't want to serve you something that I don't think is right. Is what I'm trying to get at. Do you know what I mean? So
Okay,
it's like if I'm
yeah,
giving you, if
yeah.
you're buying a butter chicken pie off the shelf, be my guest. Serve it with rice and whatever you fuck you want to serve it with. I don't know, whatever might seem right to you. Do you know what I mean? But I'm not doing that.
Yes.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So I think like what we do is we're just gonna like, we create these sort of like the pies, which, yeah, as I say, in my eyes, it's just like, that's all we're focusing on. And then it's kind of nice now, especially now we're away from Nettle, that you can just be like, yeah, that's down to the consumer. It's not my, because I felt like sometimes with Nettle, what used to, like that used to do my head in, and I think that some people would try it and actually it wasn't.
For listeners, that's your like, that was your like kiosk, well not kiosk, but like it was a yeah. Because what was going wrong with that, or was it not going wrong, but like?
No, I think it was going slightly wrong. I'll be honest. I think like because there was a bit of a disconnect with us being able to sort of like keep an eye on it, and I think like it wasn't like anything was like bad, but it was like it just wasn't perfect, and it wasn't exactly how we wanted it to be. And I think we had issues with staffing because it's an odd job, you know, it's quite a weird thing to fucking do. So
be a pie shotter.
So it was quite a high staff turnover. Do you want to be in a shed in the middle of winter? Probably not.
Yeah.
Do you know what I
Do you
mean?
want to be in a shed in the middle of summer?
Do you want to be? No, probably not. Do you want to be serving pies from a shed? Probably not.
Yes, they do.
I don't know, man. Like it was just one of those, isn't it? Like, and I think like it used to. Yeah, it was one of those ones where it's just like I just felt like sometimes the quality of the product wasn't exactly how we wanted it to be.
Yeah, I think as well. It didn't help if you're in a restaurant. You had your menu. You say, well, this is this dish, this is this dish, and that's served with X, Y, and Z, and this is served with A, B, and C. But when you operate in a little shed like that, where it's like that add-on model of like, these are the pies, that's the price. Then if you want mash, this is the price. If you want mushed peas, that's the price. If you want gravy, that's the price. And if you want all of it, that's the price. People can just pick and choose what they want. Whereas I think probably, you know, you don't have that ability to push people onto what you think is correct.
Just say something.
Yeah, go for it, mate. Yeah. We'll wrap it up in a second anyway, mate.
Yeah, I think you know, you can't dictate to people. It's not like a restaurant.
Yeah.
You know, that's probably why Rick Wilshire was so much, because he worked in a restaurant where it's like everything was paired together perfectly.
Yeah.
But you know, if you get, you know, you might go to and have a burger and then also have loaded fries and have onion rings and like
chicken wings.
they work together, but you don't need.
Yeah.
You know, like you have that. This is, you buy this bit and you sort of make it yourself.
Yeah, it's like a completely different, like the way you're the mindset going into it is just completely different.
It's completely different.
Yeah.
You're going in for an experience of like eating someone else's menu creation, whereas in a setting like that, you're going in for someone's products that you can, you know, pick and choose what you want in there. It's completely different. And then I think, you know, I can understand why that is so frustrating. You know, when you've learned to pair ingredients together, and someone just coming along who doesn't necessarily think in those terms, well, they go like, well, yeah, I like mushy peas with that chicken.
Yeah. Josh always goes that. I actually feel that sounds quite nice. And I'm always like, no, it doesn't. But we had it with Arsenal, like sent through this like it was like a rough design of the kiosk, and it was like. So it wasn't representative of what's actually going up, and it was like, pie with beans or mash and vegan gravy or something else. And I was like, right, no chance. And I was like, I actually had to apologise because I was like, someone replied to it was just like, nah, it's just a mock-up just of what the kiosk is going to look like. And I was like, all right, fair enough, sorry. But someone's not having beans and mixed pies.
Yeah.
What's
Could have used placeholder text like this, mate, instead of actual words.
Yeah, final thing, and then we'll wrap this up. So, what's your kind of creative process in terms of like the learnings you had at BRAT, Rochelle, and St John? Like, obviously, all kind of as such a wanky way of saying it, like institutions, but they are kind of massive institutions. What are some of the learnings or you've took from those places that you, in terms of the creative process of in going into the pies?
I think you're working with some of the best, you know. Like, I think you're working for some of the best chefs in London, and then you're working with as well the team, you know, is always really built up of quality, like. And so I think, you know, you just, as a chef, you just sort of like, you're really finicky, and you just like, you know, you take massive pride and care in what you're doing, and you want to be as good as you can be, I think, and that sort of still, I have that, you know. I don't think you lose that. And each restaurant has given me, you know, a little bit, I don't know, just it's like each restaurant's been very different, but I've learned so much from each environment. Like, it's incredible places to cook, you know. St John was like, it was one of the best experiences of my cooking career.
Because?
And just like, I think they gave you time to really settle in. And like, it wasn't a pushy environment, and they taught really well, and they didn't like, you know, you sort of were like, if you had done it like Farouk, my head chef, who's still the head chef at Bread and Wine now, was sort of like, you know, you'd hit 4 o'clock, and if you were done, like if you were off, if that's when you're finishing, you'd be like, get out of the kitchen, you're done. And then it was just incredible to see, like, obviously the butchery side of things, and using different cuts of meat and all that kind of stuff that they're really famous for, obviously nose to tail. And then Rochelle was just insane, because it was just like, you did the catering side of things, you know, and it was just, you were cooking for amazing guests that they had coming in there constantly, because it's a real setting and an environment and small team, and you'd work on the first section you work on is just like, you're doing the desserts, and you're doing the starters, and the prep would be really heavy, but incredible ingredients coming in each day. And then BRAT was just BRAT. Like, BRAT was insane. Like, it was like when BRAT was sort of just retained the star, or just got their first star, and it was the restaurant to go to in London, and they were obviously just like chewing through, you know, sort of meat and fish, and you were grilling it over open fire and using a wood-fired oven. And I've never gone down so hard in my life at BRAT. And
Gone down so hard in your life?
At BRAT.
Yeah, but I don't know what happened.
Well, just week in, day out, just didn't feel like I was ever going to get it, and felt like you'd go home being like, I can't do this, I haven't got the capabilities.
But how come? Like, what is it? The
just,
food
it was ferocious, mate. Like, it
yeah.
Like, I mean, it just was just like, not as in like the people or the environment of the staff or anything like that. It was great, but it was just like, it was just at that point where it was just blowing up, and everyone was going there, and they were probably a little bit understaffed, and they were figuring it out themselves a bit, I think, probably, and just the prep that you'd have to do, and also just like, I mean, you're chucking 2 bags of charcoal on it before a service, you know what I mean? I remember the first time I flipped a turbo there, I thought my arm was going to fall off. I was literally like, Jesus Christ, you know, just like burning through. But I've never felt satisfaction like it when I started to understand it, you know, and like, you got a flow to how you work there. It was the best feeling ever. Like, it's the best.
Mate, lads, I really appreciate that. I've absolutely loved it. I really think you're going to be onto something massive with this.
Cheers,
and yeah, I'm excited to see where you take it. So thank you so much.
Cheers, brother.
Thanks for having us.
Nice,
appreciate it.
Nice one.